Hello, everyone, and welcome to an all-new episode of That Star Trek Podcast, your place for a detailed analysis and speculation of all things Trek. My name is Sean Ray, and I also would enjoy some hot and sour soup. Joining me tonight in the historic Infinite Potato Studio, we have Dave. How's it going, sir?
Hey, man, how you doing?
Doing good. And Rick is here as well. How you doing, Bobcat?
I ain't piloting that shuttle.
All right. So, all right. Before we begin our breakdown of this week's Discovery episode, we've got a little bit of Trek news. Paul Wesley has been revealed to have been cast to play James T. Kirk in season 2 of Strange New Worlds and broke the internet. But Wesley is best known as playing Stefan Salvatore in The Vampire Diaries, and he also plays on another Paramount Plus show called Tell Me a Story that I've seen one episode of and didn't really care for it that much, but not because of him. But then comes all the speculation and the butthurt fans because people are claiming that, number one, they shouldn't recast Kirk. They don't want to remake TOS. Kirk doesn't belong in woke Trek. And all the canon keepers. And then you got all the canon keepers that are spouting how he can't be captain at that point in history, as if they know exactly what point in history season 2 takes place in. None of us do. So I just thought I'd throw that on the table. What do you guys think of the recasting of Kirk, and what do you think of Paul Wesley doing it? And and speculate, if you want to speculate, how you think this is going to play out on the show. Dave?
Oh, me. Well, yeah,
just go left to right.
It's all right. I have seen a lot of the butt hurtness, but I think first of all, the reason they put this out there, this picture, this announcement of him sitting in what appears to be the center seat of the Enterprise with the Enterprise insignia on his shirt. I think they were getting ahead of some set picture leaks, because that day there were all these set pics that came out that showed him with the con woman, and he was wearing a different insignia a different ship insignia on his uniform. So my guess is that we're going to flash forward to a Kirk mission while he's captain of the Enterprise, and he's going to have to think back on something that he did with a joint mission, with Pike's Enterprise crew. And he probably won't even meet Pike, because Akiva Goldsman has said, over and over again, they're very aware of continuity. So, Menagerie, Kirk said he met him once when he took over command of the Enterprise. So I think that's probably what happened.
What he said.
That he remembers.
What exactly did he say?
Because I looked this up because I saw someone bitching about this, so I looked up the transcript of the Menagerie. I don't recall it exactly now, but it was like he met Pike when Pike got some big command. It wasn't when he took over command of the Enterprise. It was when Pike got like fleet.
When he became Commodore, captain of the fleet or whatever it was. But wasn't that when Kirk took over command of the Enterprise and he got promoted?
It doesn't say that explicitly, no.
Oh, really? God. See? This is why I do shows like this. You guys call me on my bullshit.
Well, I mean,
or whatever it was.
Like I said, and all cards on the table, I ran into Dave at Hobby Lobby the other night, and we talked about this for about an hour anyway. So. But my speculation, I don't know Paul Wesley from a hole in the ground. I've never seen him in anything. I do know that picture came out where he was with Lon Noonien Singh, I think is her name, or something like that. Yeah. And Goldsman has said that she is definitely related to Khan. Mm-hmm. And but he didn't exactly say what the relation is. And Khan is one of her ancestors or something like that. And there was a lot of, when that picture came out, there was a lot of speculation online that was going to be Matt Decker, and it wasn't. Nobody knew it was going to be Kirk. Mm-hmm. So I've got
right.
I've got like headcanon. I've got headcanon going on that this is either going to be. It could be what Dave said, or it could be that one or more of the characters kind of has a flash forward in time because the Discovery went through that wormhole and went into the future in 2258, I think they said. And Kirk takes over the Enterprise in 2265. So there's like 7 years. But we don't know how much when Strange New World starts, we don't know how much time has passed because we haven't seen the show yet. It could be 2 years later, it could be 3 years later, or whatever.
Long enough for Pike to be on a tundra with a beard.
Yeah. There's definitely been some time. Here comes Scott. Scott's here.
Good morning.
Hey, look at him. There he is.
I know it must be an incredible shock to hear that Scott is late because he fell asleep on the couch.
Rick called it.
Yeah. But so it could be a flash forward that somebody goes forward in time, or somebody sees forward in time and sees Kirk on the Enterprise. Or the headcanon I'm kind of thinking of is we don't know exactly how long Anson Mount decided he wanted to do. He may have told them I only want to do 2 seasons of the show.
Mm-hmm.
So we could see a thing where we have like a flash forward in season 2. And they go another 5 or 6 years into the future, and they meet Kirk, and they have some kind of a mission with Kirk, and then by the end of that season, he's taking over the Enterprise. Season 3 is Kirk's Enterprise, because the original Star Trek picked up on like year 3 of the 5-year mission. We've never seen those first 2 years, so they could do a couple of seasons of the first 2 years of the Enterprise with Kirk.
Complete the original series, as it were.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, I've got a correction to make, although I still think this is very open to interpretation. Just because I don't trust my memory, because I've worked very hard to destroy it over the years. I just looked up the Menagerie transcript, and here it is, word for word. Commodore Mendez, you ever met Chris Pike? Kirk, when he was promoted to fleet captain. Mendez, about your age, big, handsome man, vital, active. It's a Tinder ad. Kirk, I took over the Enterprise from him. Spock served with him for several years. Spock, 11 years, 4 months, 5 days. So that could be interpreted as those 2 events were at the same time. I interpret it as he was the previous skipper of the boat I'm on now.
Yeah, at least they mentioned that I took over the Enterprise from him, because I knew that I had that in my memory, and I was like, God, how could I have misremembered that? No, I didn't. I just forgot another part, which is way more common. But yeah,
trying to adjust now.
He still said he only met him once, which was my point, and what everybody's point is. And we're like, yeah, we get it, but those set pictures didn't show him with Pike,
right? But he was definitely in a captain's uniform. He had the captain's stripes on his sleeves. Because I saw someone, one post I saw about it was like, I'd be down for learning about Lieutenant Kirk, and I was like, and that's kind of what I was thinking too. I hadn't really looked at the picture that closely, but then you look at that picture, he's wearing the captain's uniform. He's got the captain's stripes on his sleeves. So.
The leaked set pictures, or the one that they released officially?
The one that they released with him sitting in the captain's
right
in the captain's chair,
right. But the set pictures, he's got a different ship's insignia on it, and I can't tell.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen. Let's see if I can find that one.
Yeah, he's standing with the Noonien Singh woman. I think.
Yeah. Scott, what about you? What do you think about Paul Wesley taking over as Captain Kirk?
It's obviously hard to figure out exactly what the plan is, or what the reason is for him being on the show. It's a lot of speculation, which I've obviously just kind of walked right into the middle of. So without, and I know that I tend to be the guy who loves to theorize. It could mean this, it could be that. This one, it caught me kind of flat-footed. I don't really know how to start coming up with theories on why Kirk might be showing up on Strange New Worlds at all. But the first thought that I had, rather than trying to come up with specifics for why are they showing him, is even if they're set photos from their filming of season 2 already, doesn't that seem a little early to start bringing any sort of Kirk presence onto the show? I would have assumed that, yeah, we would see Kirk at some point, but like, maybe at the end. And I would hope that season 2 isn't the end already.
That picture you just showed,
Yeah.
that's the one I was just looking at. He is wearing captain stripes in that picture, and he's not wearing a different insignia. It's just because of the oblique angle of the photo, it looks different.
Oh, well, that's not the only picture. There's another picture going around, but anyway.
Yeah, because it's just Scott. Kind of like in shadow and sticking out.
I don't think season 2. Even if Anson Mount had only agreed to do 2 seasons, I don't think season 2's it. I think that I think it would be possible that they could have a Kirk take over after he left. But this is complete speculation. I have no idea.
Or they could do something like. Well, I didn't get a chance to say what I thought about it.
Go ahead.
If you had asked me before we had 3 Spocks and 2 Sareks and a couple of Pikes, what I thought about recasting Kirk, I'd have been absolutely no way. Yeah, this was a funny story. Coincidence that they both are on the same flight? But
if you're listening, we're looking at a picture of Wesley and Shatner together on a plane.
But like you said, I don't know this Wesley dude from Adam. I've never seen him in it. I've never seen any of the things you've said he was in. If he does a fine job, if he does a good job, I'm totally down for it. We have seen over and over again that these characters can be recast successfully. So why not? And it's you didn't see the pictures of the young actor who's going to be playing Kirk in Strange New Worlds season 2. Oh, I'll show you later. But there are so many ways. It could even be that he's for some reason temporarily in command of the Enterprise, but he's still a lieutenant. But whoever's in the center seat is the captain. So there are so many different ways they could take it that it is almost ludicrous to speculate at this point, especially for the people getting all butthurt about it.
I got it. We get to the first episode of season 2 of Strange New Worlds, and Kirk beams onto Pike's Enterprise and says, "I'm taking over. For a season, I'm going to be the captain, and you're going to answer to me."
And Pike will go, "Well, I did it to the Discovery. I guess you can do it to me."
And right, they get to the end of the season. Kirk is going to be like, "Okay, thanks everyone for letting me be the captain. I'm going to go ahead and bounce, and if all goes well, people will like this enough that maybe Captain Kirk can get his very own series of Star Trek."
There you go. That's how we got this one.
Now, you brought up an interesting point, though, Dave, that I'm curious to see what they're going to do, because this is one issue where there are literally 2 canons in Star Trek, and that is the different ships having different insignia.
Yeah.
Because they did it on screen in TOS, but Bob Justman was pissed about it because it was not supposed to happen. And there was a screw up in communication, and Justman put out a memo that said, even though we've done it twice, all the ships use the same insignia, because people lost their minds when Discovery came out and they were all wearing the Delta.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to go through the whole thing again that we went through with TMP and on. Where they were like, "It's an homage to the Enterprise. All right, everybody put your knickers back." And Justman's like, "No, we meant it to be the Delta the whole time." And he's got memos to back it up, because Justman wrote 1 million memos and he saved them all in triplicate. So I'll be curious to see what if they deal with it at all in Strange New Worlds, and if so, what they're going to do with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was aware of that.
I just think everybody. I just think everybody just needs to calm down. But yeah, we're 4 years into Discovery, and it's obvious that they're not going to do that. So.
Yeah. By the way, I don't know Paul Wesley at all. I don't know his acting style. but my little sister does watch Vampire Diaries, and I generally trust her. And she said, "You know what? I can see it." And she said it just like that, and I was like, "That doesn't sound good. You're saying he's very Shatner-esque," and she was like, "I can see it."
Hey, you know what? I will die on this hill. Shatner did a fine job in most of Star Trek. He had a very idiosyncratic way of delivering his dialogue, much like Avery Brooks does.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not going to mistake either of those actors if you're not seeing them and you're hearing their voices. You know, they have a distinct style. But Shatner was a good actor. It just Star Trek didn't really give him much of a chance to do what he's capable of. I don't know if I've told this story on this show before. When I was an undergrad at Florida Atlantic University, we had a teacher there named Bob Dietz, who was like, he was 3 days younger than God, but one of the nicest guys on earth. And he had been teaching acting and directing for 1,000 years. And one day we were talking about Star Trek, and he heard us and he went, "Oh!" And he just got upset. And Bob was one of those guys that never got angry. And he was like, "That Bill Shatner." And I'm like, well, "You knew him?" He's like, "I taught," because Bob started in Canada, and he taught Shatner when Shatner was in like an undergrad. And he said Shatner was a brilliant Shakespearean actor who, quote, got lazy once he got that TV show. But there's a brilliant audio. Have y'all heard the audio of him doing some voiceover for a commercial, and the engineer running the board tries to direct him?
Yeah, I've heard it.
Just tears the dude a new one. But listen to it, and because the guys are like, "Okay, do it again, but I need you to do it with more emphasis." And Shatner's like, "You're directing." You know, he's getting all condescending and how dare you? But he plays the guy, and he says, "All right, well, no, tell me what you want." And the guy starts giving him this awful line reading, and Shatner's like, "That's how you want me to do it?" And the guy's like, "Yeah." So he then does the take exactly as the dude just did it, and as horribly as the guy just did it, but like beat for beat. He was that quick. He was, and I mean, we all sat through Kingdom of the Spiders. He was, he did not do a lot of great work, but I will fight anyone that says he wasn't a good actor. He just wasn't in a lot of great stuff.
Yeah,
Let him do it.
There are a few things quite as dangerous as a diva with actual talent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He was.
Shatner.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
It's your show.
I was just
But
gonna
you're the
say
guest.
he's definitely a good actor, but there's no denying that he overacts, or he overacted quite a bit, especially in the movie. More so, I think, in the movies than in the
That's
show.
what I was just gonna say. As he got into the movies, then he started ramping it up. But if you go back and watch TOS, there was some subtlety to him in TOS. Hey, John,
There's John.
2 weeks in a row.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say Shatner has said many times that as the show progressed and they would bring him scripts later and later and bring him changes later and later, he would do all that pausing because he was trying to remember his lines.
Mm-hmm.
Which I've also read over and over again that's what got him rave reviews when he understudied for Plummer, and I think it was Macbeth. Because he was on stage and he couldn't remember, he blanked on his lines and he did this dramatic pause and wound up getting a lot of rave reviews and work out of it. So I mean, I've seen him do some awful work, but then you also have like Nick Meyer talking about in that scene in Star Trek 6 where he's like, "Let them die." Meyer telling him like, "No, let's do it again. Let's do it again." And he just like kept being so bombastic. And Nick Meyer said he just basically like made him do it as many times it wore him out, and he finally got the take he wanted. Like the understated take that he wanted. So I think he just gets excited, man.
All right, let's move on and talk about Discovery. So tonight we will be discussing the season 4 finale of Star Trek Discovery, which was titled "Coming Home," written by Michelle Paradise, directed by Olatunde Osunsanmi, and the original air date was March 17th, 2022. As the DMA approaches Earth and Navarre, and with evacuations underway, Burnham and the team aboard the USS Discovery must find a way to communicate and connect with a species far different from their own before time runs out. That's kind of the same plot summary as last week. But I mean, this is a basically part 2 of a 2-parter. But,
and somewhat inaccurate because they've already figured out how to communicate with this species by the time this episode begins. So
yeah,
it's not they have to figure out a way to communicate. They have to continue to communicate.
Well, they got a hell of a lot better.
They have to communicate better. Yeah.
I mean, they were basically talking in real time this time. Time around, they figured to get that language out pretty fast.
Full sentences and everything.
That was some bullshit.
I mean, the president was like, "Tell them," and then presidential monologue, and Saru's just back there typing like crazy.
but you know, it
I was fine with it.
I could see that, but it, you know, for the sake of moving the story along, they had to finally just let it go, and it didn't. It bugged me for about a minute, and then I was like, all right, I see that. Otherwise, we're just going to be here going, you eat rock, me fly ship.
Yeah,
it would have been like that.
You don't want Darmok to be the season finale.
Yeah. And it should improve exponentially between the translator and Zora, and a greater understanding on both sides. It should get better faster. Maybe too fast, but it's all made up. So
that's a fancy headcanon you got there.
It's a talent.
Well, I mean,
Star Trek has trained us.
They've been running into this problem on Star Trek in various other Star Trek series as well for years now, which is the technology that they use on the show advances to the point where it's indistinguishable from magic, and it's gotten even worse now that they're in the 32nd century, where it is magic. Once they decide to break the seal and say, you know what's a thing now in this show? Programmable matter. And say, oh, so there are no more rules anymore, is what we're saying. That's what's happening with the technology. And
don't give me whatever.
The original series broke it. They were Star Trek has never been sci-fi. It's been sci-fi fantasy. Like
true enough, and this is not to say that I think that the concept of programmable matter is ridiculous, and it's like, oh, so what? Now they can just whatever. Well, I guess just do whatever you want. Then
they can just make food out of nothing. They can just teleport from here to there. Are you kidding me?
It's my view of it. It's not that I'm not angry at it, but when they introduced the concept of programmable matter in season 3, then it opens up so many possibilities for what they can do technology-wise that it kind of does mean there's no rules. They can really do whatever they want with the technology and explain it away as just something that is commonplace now in the 32nd century. It doesn't make me angry. That's just the status quo that they set up for themselves. This feels like the time for me to point out to you guys that the podcatcher that I use every day to listen to podcasts at work doesn't download this show. So I don't know what you guys have been talking about all season long. So I'm coming in completely fresh with you guys.
By you guys, he means you guys, because I just got here myself.
You can always find the show at infinitepotato.com.
Or just ask Sean for it. I'm sure he'll do it.
Yeah, I was just telling Sean about that like yesterday. Where I was like,
which podcast is it? What podcast are you using that we're not on?
No,
a bunch of them.
I'm using iTunes, which I know I'm certain that Apple Podcasts has this show available. However, this is a little bit too much inside baseball, with baseball being Scott's own office in his particular setup. The computer that I use to load podcasts onto my iPod is an old iMac with an old OS X. And I cannot update it because the machine itself won't take it. The machine is too old. So it's still running iTunes, which, as some people may be aware, isn't really a thing anymore.
Yeah.
iTunes.
I just put artwork on my files.
So you're trying to download podcasts while turning a big crank.
Essentially, yeah. And most of my shows I get, but there are some podcasts that I listen to that just don't download to the computer anymore because the program that I'm using is out of date, and I can't use my current computer to load up shows onto my iPod because I'm using an iPod Shuffle, which Apple has come right out and said this is no longer technology from our perspective. This is obsolete technology, and Apple Podcasts will no longer recognize this device. If you plug it in, we're just going to say, huh?
No,
and then we're going to laugh at you.
There's an app for that. I mean,
Yeah.
just download Podcast Addict on your phone and you can download.
I could, but
all
when I
kinds of
listen to podcasts at work, I don't always have the luxury of being able to stream something, nor do I have the luxury of actually carrying my phone with me because I'm going into restricted areas where I will get fired if I have my phone.
I got you. All right, so Earth and Navarre's ticking clock is down to 4 hours, and the Federation HQ warps in. Yeah, I didn't know that they could do that either.
I didn't recognize it at first. And then, that's what that is. Okay.
I had no
It
idea
looked like
what
a
it
big,
was.
it looked like a big Christmas tree ornament coming through warp space, and then
It sure
Pretty
did.
shit.
It did.
It
was very
sure
cool.
did. But
Yeah,
if
most of these 32nd century ships, I don't know what the hell I'm looking at. I'm just like, yep, that's a blob of metal in space. Cool.
and then each
Well, you know,
individual compartment could come out and warp away on its own too. That was pretty cool.
The problem that they're having, kind of related to what we were saying before, and I've talked about this before, but maybe not when you were on the show, Dave. Every time a new show is announced and it's going to be a prequel, people lose their shit. And I'm one of them. I was really sick of prequels. But I read an interview with one of the writers or one of the producers or something not too long ago that was talking about that. And they were like, why prequels? Why do you keep doing that? People want to see what's going forward. And he said, well, the biggest first of all, there's this huge gap between TOS and everything else that's, unmined territory. And two, most of the producers and writers are worried that if you go too far into the future, the technology literally becomes magic, and it becomes harder and harder and harder to come up with a story where the tech, you can't just flip a switch and it's all gone. And that's exactly what we're seeing in Discovery now, where they're having to fight to keep the stories to the point where they can't just tech the tech and get out of it in 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Well,
but on the other hand, if they don't make everything look more advanced, people are going to get pissed off. They're, why are they still using a Miranda class 3,000 years from now? It's like they can't win either way.
I'll tell you what I want. I'll tell you. I want 32nd century. I want to see Discovery. I want to see the Excelsior class. Just like it was before. You know how it was like 100 years and they were still using the freaking Excelsior class.
This is the one model we didn't break yet.
Yeah, there's no, they were really sturdy. We like it.
Yeah, I want an Excelsior class ship to pull up, and then people just react to it like they're seeing a cherry 57 rolling down the streets. Oh man, that looks sweet.
I just want Lieutenant Price to show up and be like, they say she's got transwarp drive.
Well, I mean, it's like
she'd be a wagon.
It's like the Mitsubishi Outlander has been around since like 1992, but they're still making them, but they're not. It's not the same car.
Yeah,
the planes I worked on in the Air Force were Vietnam War era cargo planes, and they're probably still in the air now. If you airframe, you still use it.
Yeah, why would you throw away something that's working?
Yeah,
that's why my desk is full of chargers that belong to nothing.
I think your definition of if it still works might need a little help. For those
Facebook
of you
users
that can't see what's happening.
They beat me to it.
Excelsior class, the iPod Shuffle of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Who is it? Who are you, Facebook user?
I'm thinking it's probably Boz, if I had to guess.
Brandon or Boz would be my guess.
Either Brandon or Boz, yeah. All right, so Discovery is still trapped inside a 10C orb. Tarka's running around pissing off super beings even more than he was last week. Oh, this is Matt Carroll. Okay. This is Dave's co-host for his Star Trek podcast.
Star Trek Universe podcast.
Matt, 5 points to Gryffindor for you. That iPod shuffle, that was a good joke.
So Michael decides that she's going to lock up the delegates because obviously one of them is a traitor. One of them vented the plasma that started all this mess. But Ndoye comes out and confesses that she's the one that did it. I'm the saboteur. And of course, she didn't realize that they were very close to breaking through the language barrier with the 10C when she did that. So, oops.
At least she owned it. I appreciated that because, I was pretty disgusted with her character up to that point, as I said last time. But she stepped right out and said, "Yep, I did it." And then I loved how when Michael was like, "Did you do that before you knew that Book was locked up and Tarka was?" And then I gotta give I don't know the actress's name, but she the realization dawning on her and the absolute, oh my God, I really effed up look on she did it so beautifully without words. I really appreciated that bit of acting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I love that because she was honest, she got off. She didn't have to face any consequences. Well, since you were honest,
did anybody? I mean,
just like kids, just like your kids. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Right.
Book's on Riker cleanup duty on the holodeck, but
I mean, we can argue that Book is facing consequences, but I would argue that Book's doing something that Book would have wanted to do anyway.
He got community service, basically.
He would want to help. Yeah,
he was like, "Thank Christ, I finally got off that ship with that woman."
He's
always trying to force me to wear a Starfleet uniform.
Okay, so maybe I'm slow.
Maybe.
All right, so I'm slow.
Ooh. Sorry, so I'm kidding.
So the plot of this season. I know I'm a little late, but okay. So Tarka does not believe that his guy actually made it across to the other dimension, right? This one is dead, and there's another one out there. Who
knows what Tarka's goal is anymore? I mean, because up until this week, I thought that he was trying to go back to the universe that he knew that Oros had went to, and now
that was my thinking.
It sounds like he just wanted to go to a mirror universe where all the same people are there, so he can be with a version of Oros.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, I'm glad it's not just me. The dialogue was confusing to me. Up until I guess like the last episode, maybe my thinking was, dude made it across. I need this power so I can go be with him.
Yeah,
that's how I read the situation.
Right.
Yeah.
But this episode, it seems okay. My guy's dead, but I can go to another universe that's close enough to my guy.
Yeah,
this almost perfect place.
Yeah, this is like Star Trek's version of Plato's ideal plane.
Yeah, okay, but he kept saying,
or the next.
Go, I need to return home, go back home. So, all right. So, are you going to a new place? Is this an old place? Is this your place? Is it the other place?
Yeah, because originally when
is that your guy? Is that
when he first told Book that he would, when he first told Book about parallel universe, he was making it sound like he was from a parallel universe.
Yeah,
and then we saw he was lying at the time.
And then we saw the episode with Oros and everything, and it made it sound like, oh, Oros got out. Now I need to go be with him. And now it sounds like, well, I just want to be with an Oros. It's like, well, just go to the holodeck and live there.
He's always been Soren. He's always been just wanting to get his own agenda through. He's been lying to so many people for so long. He's even not sure what's real anymore. And then he finally, I think his goal was always to get to this other universe, and he has convinced himself of whatever it is. If you've ever been around a congenital liar, they will convince themselves of their lies. And I see Tarka doing this all the way through.
Yes. Oh, they're gone. They're probably dead. Well, we don't know. No, yep, they're dead.
Yeah.
And then, I just wanted to make sure that, like, because I was unclear, and I didn't,
the story changed every episode.
But I didn't get the sense. I didn't get the sense that he was making up his. I don't know.
He was trying to get Book to help him, whatever it took.
I guess. All right. I can sit with that. I guess I can live with that.
Yeah.
I'm not advocating it. I'm just saying that's how I.
The only thing that I didn't like was that Tarka changed his mind basically because Book said Oros would be disappointed in you.
That's the other thing.
That was all it took from it. Oh my God! Why is it he here to stop me? Yeah,
for 8 episodes, and then his change of heart was unprecedented.
Yeah, It was a quick ass turnaround.
Yeah,
I didn't buy it, but I was glad it was over.
Yeah, I thought it was too sudden. It didn't make sense to me, and I mean, as far as we know, we're left able to easily assume that that Tarka died when the ship was destroyed.
I'm not assuming. Sure. I'm because they didn't. Because they dropped the line. Because they dropped that one line where he said, "Maybe hitting the hyperfield will give me enough power to make it work." I think. Well, as soon as he said that, I was like, "Okay, well, that's probably what happened then."
But for me, I can't let myself think or assume that his plan actually worked, because if after all this he actually got what he wanted, then I would be incredibly disappointed. Because his behavior throughout the entire season for me says he's got to die. Because I hate him so much.
What if it worked? What if it worked and he got transported to a universe where everybody was him?
Just all looking for Oros.
Yeah.
So what if?
It's like that scene from Being John Malkovich. So there's like some Tarkas in a sexy dress, and there's some Tarkas walking around like a little kid.
Yeah,
but I didn't even think of that.
When you said that initially, I thought of like the that prison planet in the one, where it's fighting. I guess he was not fighting a bunch of versions of himself. That's what he was doing to get there. But
yeah, that was a good terrible movie.
I love that awful movie.
Yes.
Tarina tries to do a mind meld with the Cloud, and it sends her to sickbay. My guess was that Tarina was going to die when she did this mind meld. I was like, yep, that's what's going to kill her, and it didn't. By the way, nobody died. I mean, can we? That's the if I could say the one problem that I had with this finale is that the stakes were so high. It was the galaxy again. They're trying to save the galaxy, and everybody, no matter what they did, everybody survived. There was like 4 chances that there could have been.
Well, if it helps, if it makes you feel better, Sean, they killed a bunch of planets at the start of the season.
Yeah, I know that, but they're not characters that we care about.
Right. Which is Discovery's biggest problem, is that there are no actual stakes.
Because I watched them both back to back. Again, I watched them last week, but I watched both Star Trek shows back to back before I got on mic. And Discovery had okay writing and incredible acting. Picard had incredible writing and pretty good acting.
Yeah,
maybe I should.
I mean, just fast forward a little bit to the scene where Ndoye is. We think Ndoye. We think that she's going to sacrifice herself. At first, they make it look like it's going to be Detmer, and I'm like, no, that. And then Ndoye rams the ship, and it explodes, and she still survives. Oh, I got
We
it.
saw it explode in her face.
It's almost like they added that line, like they wanted to kill her, and then they pulled back at the last second, like they did with Duke in the G.I. Joe movie.
Yeah, I was like, at least let her die. Like, at least she was the traitor. At least kill her. Okay.
And it would have made her sacrifice. She would have been sacrificing something to fix what she had done and save everybody.
Here's why I'm okay with it. Because her dying was the predictable thing. So just by sheer virtue of not being the thing I expected, like fine.
Well, it's just that they had the whole heartfelt thing where she gives Michael her pen, her communicator, and she says, "If I don't make it back, tell the president that that I did what I had to do," or something like that. And then, like 30 seconds later, oh yeah, she's fine. Beam her to 6-bay.
She made it back.
but okay. Here's the thing. I was surprised too. I thought they were going to do the noble sacrifice thing, and they didn't, which was fine. Like you said, it was was not what I was expecting them to do. But all ships have inertial dampeners that have to deal with stresses when a ship goes to even high impulse that are far bigger than ramming into another ship. So if they had a transporter lock on her, and the inertial dampeners were all working, there's no reason why she shouldn't have survived that. It was fine by me. I would have been cool either way if they'd have killed her. I would have been cool with that too.
I'd have been fine either way. I was surprised to see her like at the end of the episode, like back on the council. I'm like, okay, but like
no punishment for anybody.
But everything she was doing, as the the president said, reasons matter.
Yeah.
No, I get, and actually, I wasn't on the episode where she committed her acts of treason. And you're like, no, I don't like her character. I'm like, no, her character has been completely consistent.
Yeah.
From
absolutely.
the first moment we've seen her, she does what she does. She's paranoid, and she overreacts in defense of Earth. That's her main character trait. So her doing this was not surprising.
You saying that? Remember in the TOS or the TNG episode First Contact, where Riker, where BB Newirth, basically raped Riker. He didn't seem to mind too much though. There was the prime minister or whatever, the president of the planet's like right-hand man who was prepared to die to keep aliens from becoming public knowledge or whatever.
Yeah, the Minister of Security.
That guy, yeah. She reminded me of him. So, doing the wrong things for the right reasons. Absolutely devoted to what she saw as the security of Earth and really not worrying about other considerations until she got it right in her face that, oh, you've been played. And then she went, all right, my bad. What can I do to fix it? She did the honorable thing, and I appreciated that.
Well, it's just that when they do stuff like this, it makes it so that, because they've done it before, where they make it to where all the stakes that they raise just kind of get washed out. It makes it so that every time that they bring up something that could be big, in my mind, I'm already like, no, that's not going to happen. Like Stamets and Adira figuring out that they can get out of this not warp bubble, but out of this, whatever they called it, this bubble, that they could do it by activating the orb. Yeah. They activate the spore drive, but since there's no mycelial network for the energy to go into, it's going to bust this orb and they're going to get out. But it'll burn out the spore drive and it'll take us decades to get home. No, it won't.
Right.
No, it won't.
I'm glad it didn't. I was going to be so pissed.
They just built a Voyager.
Yes.
But when they did say that, I was thinking, Kovic did say it was a 3-hour tour.
I know. I just started hearing.
But yeah.
I'm with you, Sean. I didn't buy for a second. It's like, no one's going to get stranded. I mean, yeah, they're going to burn out the spore drive. They're still going to get they're still going to get taken home immediately.
Wave their magic tentacle, and they're going to be home.
I didn't even. I mean, I was hoping, but they could have done it because it's the season finale. So all they had to do was
they could have left it open. They could have left it open, and then the premiere next year be how they get back.
Season premiere. It's 6 months later, and they find a way to get home in episode 1, and then they're just back home.
Yeah. Now, something that it didn't bother me until somebody mentioned it on the Facebook group I'm on, and it didn't dawn on me. And then as soon as they said it, it's been bugging the crap out of me ever since. They've been treating Adira like they're a 17-year-old kid, which they are, but they also have an 800-year-old symbiont, and they have completely ignored the symbiont this season.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Adira no longer has it, though. Gray has it now.
No, Gray is in a body.
Gray's in a robot.
Adira still got it. That's a very good point. I didn't know it either, but you're right.
I thought they moved it over to Gray.
Nope. Nope. Gray got a Gollum body, but
the only there was a trill transfer. There was a trill there that did a transfer, but they were transferring her or his Katra into the Gollum body. It wasn't a transfer of the symbiote into
the telegraphic or the holographic monk said something about maybe you can host a symbiont in the future, which I was like, seriously? All right. They're really not caring who they put those things in anymore.
And
the population.
The Tal is still in Adira.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, not that we'd be able to tell, because you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
that's been completely ignored this season, and Adira has been acting like the host with none of the additional wisdom or experience that would come with having a symbiont of that age,
or confidence, or
it's just the writers ran out of ideas of what to do with Adira and Gray, and I mean that's why Gray's basically gone now.
Well, for whatever reason, this writing team seems to they struggle in defining characters with little bits, there's like little scenes. Unless you devote a whole episode to somebody, you don't know anything about them. But you can do that with little things. Just have two characters interact with each other in a way that's not, when they're not in a life or death situation, show two people sitting the way they do with Saru, the way they do with Michael, like they're talking about something over a drink, but they don't really do that with, record playback the last 10 episodes we've recorded about character development.
One of the coolest shots of the show, or for me anyway, was when Book and Reno escaped from the force field that Tarka had them locked behind, and he raised that cat door up with Grudge's collar. When Tarka threw up that force field to protect him from Book, and Book just punched his way right through it.
Oh, that was badass.
Superman punched it, and they did it in slow motion so that you could see him tearing right through it. It was pretty cool.
I gotta. If y'all, I know we've mentioned her work before, and if you haven't read NickYeager's super anemic comic strips, you really need to, especially on this episode, because I was so with her on the just die already.
All the different variations of evil McSomething that she had for Tarka was great. I do find that her concise recaps of these episodes, they shock me with how in line they are with my opinions of the episode after I watch it. We really seem to be on a similar wavelength, because she'll criticize a lot of what I criticize, and the things that she says are awesome. I'm like, yeah, that was pretty awesome, wasn't it? She does such a good job.
I'm going to try and get her on this season of Picard on the podcast at some point.
She's tons of fun to have on the podcast too. I really want to work with her more. Haven't had a chance to, but she's a lot of fun to talk to.
I'm complaining a lot about this episode, but I did like the episode. But here's my next complaint. How is it? Seriously, you're a rogue smuggler badass, and you don't have like a backdoor escape system from your own brig just in case somebody takes over your ship. That's Smuggler 101, man.
Well,
Smuggler 101.
Well, it wasn't the
operating
brig
system. That was the whole point of that.
Yeah, Tarka had revamped everything, and everything was all automated. And it wasn't Book's brig; it was just a force field that Tarka put around him.
That actually makes me feel better. Thank
Yeah, that's a good point.
Now the last episode, when Tarka dropped the force field to drag Book in there, and Reno didn't clock him with that propane tank she was sitting next to, that bothered me. But
well, what if he just pulled back the force field, around her, and then?
But he didn't. Though.
Long enough.
He just dropped the whole thing.
Reno
dragged the unconscious Book into the.
Reno was just kind of whatever about the whole thing. Anyways, it was just like at least the good thing is we're going to evaporate as soon as we get there. How's that the good thing? We'll die quick. I don't like to have to be in pain.
Yeah.
Okay. So Tarka uses what power he has left in the ship to send Book back to Michael, and he spends his last few moments thinking about Oros and clutching his dimensional transporter. Book's transporter signal gets lost. The ship explodes, and as he's beaming in, and then it kind of goes away, and they lose the signal, and Book's gone, and Michael completely breaks down. And I was sitting there with my wife. I was like, Captain's not supposed to do that. Captain's not supposed to cry. There's no crying in baseball.
You are a monster.
I think
Picard wouldn't have cried.
I love watching the screen and seeing that John unmuted his mic just to say that sentence and immediately muted himself again. That was.
Look,
He's doing that because he's eating a snack.
I don't care. It was still slick.
Young captains believe that they have to be emotionless. Kirk would get all weepy with Spock behind the scenes and be like, I can't, I'm not supposed to feel and whatnot. But, then you flash forward to Star Trek 3, dude actively fell backward in tears when his son got killed.
That's something he only knew for a week.
Yeah. So,
I like that she did do that, and then she immediately pulled herself together and got back.
Yeah, she's like, sucked it up. Yeah, I'm being facetious. It was a good scene.
I find it easy.
I was crying right along with her because the absolute anguish, because we've seen tears coming out of Michael forever. People bitch about it endlessly, but that was a full on gut wrenching, tear your soul out cry that she didn't let it out, but she let it on her face. And again, that was just some amazing work from Sonequa Martin Green.
Yeah, her performance was a perfect representation of this is a person who what you see on the surface is a fraction of what's going on inside the character, and she was able to get that across with her physical performance, and I thought that was magnificent. I found it difficult to let that performance touch me at all because I did not for a moment think that what we just saw actually happened.
No.
Yeah.
If Book was if they were going to kill Book, there would have been a scene between Book and Michael before it happened.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been a lost transporter signal.
Yeah.
Not a chance.
What do they think he is, Tasha Yar? They're not just going to kill him. just smack him around for no reason and kill him.
Just really quick to a counterpoint to what you just said, Scott. I had absolutely no illusions that Book was not coming back and that the 10C would bring him back. I still was bawling my eyes out with Michael.
Michael doesn't know.
She did a fantastic job, and your reaction makes absolute sense, and I get it. It was only because they tried to make us think, hey, everyone, Book died. I was like, no, he didn't. And then I see Michael's reaction. It's like, you're doing great, but he's not dead. That's just what was going on for me. And anyone who reacted differently, I get it. But I couldn't react that way.
One thing I wonder, we're all old Trek fans. I'm the oldest, but we've all been Trek fans for a majority of our lifetimes. I wonder if, we've hit a point where it's like the transporter, he's fine. we know, if younger Trek fans, if this is their first Trek series, that scene might have been more powerful to them because they might not have known it was coming.
Except that the whole thing with Ndoye would have been kind of almost foreshadowing of it, because
they might not know the ins and out of transporter maintenance, but they know plot. They know that he's the main, he's the main character's love interest.
Look,
and the show's not over yet.
I don't even think it's just a Star Trek thing. It is just a TV thing, and you
don't see the body.
Yeah, right. And if you go over to TV Time, that's an app where you can catalog the shows you're watching and stuff. When you look at the comments after you check an episode as seen, you can look at the comments, and it's like everybody on that app has never watched a television show before. They were, oh my God, when this happened, I was in tears and I didn't know what was going to happen, and I can't believe they're really going to do this. I'm like,
You've never watched television.
What? What are you guys talking about?
It's your first show. Nice.
They just allow themselves to get caught up in the moment. It's fine. That's the beauty of the art.
Well, they head down to since he sends another orb, and everybody goes down to the planet. It's the entire bridge crew goes down to the planet.
More than the bridge crew, because the doctor went down to.
No, the doctor stayed with
the other doctor.
No,
okay,
Colbert.
Colbert stayed with Stanley.
The doctor that doesn't talk much.
Yeah,
I like her though. I like her a lot.
I'm assuming that Zora can go with him and still kind of control the ship a little bit, because otherwise they're just throwing the car in park and leaving it in the middle of the road.
She's Bluetoothing it. She's good.
I'm waiting for Zora to become Dr. Manhattan.
I think she's fine.
But I did let myself think, and sorry to sidetrack you, Sean, but excuse me. After they blew the spore drive, getting out of the orb, I did allow myself to think for a second, is this how... And okay, John and Dave are really entertained by something.
Yes, because you said they blew the spore drive.
No, that's not what I'm entertained because I know what you're going to say, Scott. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, I was absolutely laughing at the blowjob joke. Yeah.
John's probably right. John's probably right. I did allow myself to think for a moment that without a spore drive, maybe the 10C will not just instantly magic Discovery back to the Alpha Quadrant, but maybe this is where they leave Discovery and Zora behind.
Mm-hmm.
And they make it back to Federation space on their own, and Zora is left out there to be rediscovered when we get to the short trek Calypso.
Which I brought this last week. We talked about this last week. These guys seem to think that they're never going to go back to that, but
not with this ship, because this is the Discovery A. I just don't see him doing it with this ship.
In February of 21, and then also this week, I think, in February, Michelle Paradise and Alex Kurtzman said they were absolutely going to find their way to connecting to Calypso and make that happen. And then, the director of this episode was the same director, Olatunde, directed this one as well as Calypso, and he also confirmed that yes, they are going to do that. So
I'd be open for it.
I'm not forgetting it.
I just don't see it happening with this particular ship. It may be another version of the ship or something, but this is the A with the disconnecting the cells and everything, and that's not what was in Calypso.
So
But looping back to what I said about programmable matter, it's magic. Zora could say, you know what? I'm all on my own. I first started to find myself before this ship got its refit. I want to go back to my old look, and Zora could just use the programmable matter on the ship, or
she's going to go back to she's going to go back to factory settings.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to get snarky though. I'm going to get snarky and be like, well, I mean, you know, the Enterprise on Discovery doesn't look like the Enterprise in the original series, so
at that point, you could just turn the Discovery into the Enterprise.
Just we're just throwing out the way ships are supposed to look. Just screw it.
So they have so they have this conversation with the 10C on the planet, and basically 10C says, okay, you know, we'll stop. And then they bring Book back, and then Book says that's not good enough. You got to stop doing it altogether, because
that was awesome.
Your fracking is tearing up ecosystems. You know, you got to stop drilling. So
and as I prophesied, he used his Aquaman powers.
Yeah, that
he didn't. That's not how I saw it. I didn't see it that way. But I did think about what you said. I was like, okay, fair.
You didn't hear it? They even did it. Whoop, 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 whoop.
I think
he was riding a dolphin, John.
I miss it.
Meanwhile, back with the Hall of Justice,
I didn't watch it in
prepares
HD.
a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
I didn't watch it in HD. I might have missed the dolphin. I took that more as his finally healing. Not so much that he was using it on the 10C, but that he worked through his grief to the point of, you know, we can't hurt other people to make ourselves feel better. Mm-hmm. And with that, he reopened his chakra or whatever. Mm. That's how I take it. But I did just watch Avatar again.
He still uses Aquaman powers, man.
He did. I did like the lights came up on his forehead, and then the 10C had the lights come up too.
Yeah.
Save the day with it, which I was like, when it happened, I was like, oh fuck, dude, it's gonna be insufferable.
Yeah, that's what I said. I mean, at least the day had already been saved. He just made the day more saved.
Yeah,
I love they came back from the dead with an attitude. That was great.
Yeah,
it was semi-saved, and then he like solidified the save.
Yeah,
and I did like the way they handled it with the 10C going, oh yeah, we caught this transmission. We didn't know what it was, so we just hung on to it. You want it back?
we thought it might be important, so here you go. And they effectively bring Book back to life, and he returns to the land of the living, looking directly into the mouth of that gift horse, and says, "No,
do better.
That's not enough.
Do better, Senator.
No farther."
All right. Let me wrap up the end of the Discovery episode here, so we can. Well, the 10C gives Discovery a direct route back to Earth, which we knew that was going to happen. So it's flaming cocktails and heartfelt hugs all around, and little moments for everybody. Reno reveals her nickname for Stamets, which is Bobcat. Tarina expresses her.
Hang on. Before we run into that, I just got to say, this episode had one of the best Reno moments ever when she beamed back to the bridge of Discovery and walked past Michael and said, "The man loves you." He said, "Do whatever you need to."
Yeah.
But Tig's delivery of that line was perfect.
Yeah, it was good. She was good this whole episode. Yeah. We complained that we didn't get a lot of Tig Notaro this season, but she made up for it these last two episodes. So, and also Tarina expresses her Vulcan feelings for Saru, and Vance and Rilica just respecting the hell out of each other. And the president says,
"Talk about Vance and Tilly."
Oh yeah, well yeah. I mean, the whole episode they were like passing drinks back and forth in on the space station, talking about how their life had purpose. Yeah, it was good. It was good to see her. Yeah, it was good to see her back, and she did say she'd be back. I don't know if next season she's gonna. Hopefully, she'll be back for good. But
they said they've been using her in some capacity, but they haven't said
how
much.
I think Mary Wiseman is doing outside projects now because she's either starting or closing a show on Broadway.
Yeah, a Broadway show somewhere. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I could take her or leave her. I've not missed her.
I love Tilly in small doses.
If they give us Tilly and take Adira away, I'm good. If they give us Adira and take Tilly away, I'm good. I can't deal with all the awkward in one show. No, we got to pick and choose here.
I can't say I disagree. I hear where you're coming from, and it almost feels bad to say. It almost feels like I'm being rude to the performers, saying that I don't like what they're doing. But and I know that's not how I feel on the inside. I just worry that's how it comes across. But it's just sometimes that doesn't always work. It's like, yeah, a person feels they feel awkward and they feel overwhelmed because they're just so excited and they love where they are and they have so much respect for the people that they're working with that it makes them 10 shades of awkward, and that's great, but not every single week.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, people calm down.
Yeah. And then they would have episodes with Adira and Tilly talking to each other, and they're just stammering and stumbling through a conversation, awkward as hell. And I'm like,
yeah, but
God,
this Tilly doesn't do that anymore.
Yes, she does.
No, she didn't. No, not in this episode. She didn't. She was all, oh, you're doing great, Adira. You're doing great making friends.
Yeah,
and, just remember
first time. It's like the first time ever.
Yeah.
Well, when Vance when Vance told him how many people they were going to be able to save, and she says, "Please hurry, Michael." So the president tells Burnham that she's ready for command of the fancy new USS Voyager, knowing that she'll never take it. As for Book, the president isn't going to throw the book at him. He's giving community service, helping DMA refugees, and that last scene between him and Michael was pretty good. I enjoyed that scene. I laughed a couple of times at their little jokes to one another. So that's what shivering is, Michael.
That was great. That was really good. That was fantastic.
And then the president of Earth comes up for a visit, and it's some stunt casting with the Georgia House Minority Leader and gubernatorial hopeful Stacey Abrams announcing that they're ready to join the Federation.
Okay, yes, those are two accurate descriptions of her, but she is the frickin' trying to be good. She is the frickin' tip of the spear in the fight for voters' rights in the United States.
Oh yeah,
in this day and age, and she is also a huge Star Trek fan.
Yeah, she's a big Doctor Who fan too. She was on David Tennant Has a Podcast, and she was kind of fangirling over him.
I have a problem with people calling this stunt casting.
Well, I mean, it is.
It's totally appropriate given how one, she's a huge Star Trek fan. Two, she is one of the leading advocates for human rights in the United States at this time when human rights are being attacked from all sides. And she is a legitimate actor.
Just two sides.
Well, I mean, yeah, but stunt casting doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. I mean,
it's a term that tends to denigrate, just like Mae Jemison, astronaut. Her standing there with no lines, just running a transporter console, that's stunt casting. It was cool if you knew who she was. That was great that she got to be there, but it didn't affect the episode. I think that casting Stacey Abrams as the president of United Earth was far more than just let's do a ratings grab, because they didn't advertise it.
No, they didn't.
I didn't realize who she was.
No, I actually exclaimed "Holy shit" when I saw
her. Oh,
that
yeah,
was
I knew who she was as soon as I saw her.
I'd heard her, but I'd never seen her. I'd seen pictures of her, but I never really paid attention.
Yeah, so, I knew that I recognized her, but it took the credits to really connect it. So that's why I know the face. I felt silly when I had to wait that long, but yeah.
It took me a second, but then I was like, oh yeah, okay.
The best part about it was that Ted Cruz got really butthurt about it.
He was so upset.
He was so triggered. And here's the thing: it's not like she anyone in that role would have done what she did. It's not like she said, back in back there used to be this politician named Stacey Abrams. Like, no, she played the role of President of Earth. It just happened to be her.
Yeah.
She didn't do anything to call attention to who she actually was, aside from just be who she was.
She actually did a pretty good job of acting, honestly.
She did fine.
Well,
The fact that people are so
performing arts school.
Yeah.
She has some acting. She hasn't used it in years, but any more than I guess politicians use.
Yeah, she's a politician, of course.
I was rewatching the
ones we
episode
agree
this
with.
afternoon, and my wife, I had posted on Facebook a couple of days ago about Ted Cruz getting so upset about it, and when that scene came up, my wife was in the room, and she said, "Why did Ted Cruz get so upset about that?" It's like, because she's trying to help black people vote, and he doesn't want them to. Basically,
just the two sides, really, just two.
Yeah.
I watched the Ready Room for this episode. I as y'all have very well pointed out, and it hurts my heart to say this, but yeah, Will really needs to dial it back. It's getting old.
I love that he's excited. I just wish he wasn't screaming 65% of the words that he says on the show.
It's like he snorts Adderall before he can record. I mean,
but the last episode, for the last Ready Room for Discovery had Sonequa Martin Green and Michelle Paradise and
Tunde.
Tunde, thank you. And it was so great watching Sonequa describe what it was like having Stacey Abrams on the set, because it really sounds like everybody was trying not to fanboy or girl over everybody else, because Cass was freaking out that she was there. And I know what a huge Trek fan Stacey Abrams was, and I've seen her interviews with her, and she was like trying to hold it together and not go, "Holy fuck, I'm on Star Trek." So
almost made it, Rick. So close.
Oh no, he did it earlier in the show before y'all got here.
All right.
He didn't get close to anything.
But it really sounds like there was just this huge love fest of everybody trying to stay professional and just barely not doing it.
All right, let me throw this little bit of trivia out before we close out. So General Ndoye's first name was revealed to be Diada. The episode ended with the message "For April with love." This was a dedication to April Nakafora, a longtime Star Trek producer who lost her battle to cancer back in December. In addition to Book's ship, the USS Discovery lost one shuttle, but there was no mentioned crew deaths, although one bridge officer was at least injured by a major console explosion. There were lots of exploding consoles on the bridge.
The USS Nog and the USS Yelchin.
Mm-hmm.
And
the USS Mitchell.
And the Mitchell.
Yeah. But when they mentioned the Yelchin, I was...
Yeah, they did mention the Yelchin. They mentioned the...
I'm not going to...
the USS Credence, the USS Greco, and the USS Mitchell, which was named for Discovery guest star Ken Mitchell. That we see times on the show.
It's supposed to be Gary Mitchell.
That's not the Mitchell I would have guessed. Yeah.
Mitchell is.
No, it's not. It wasn't Gary Mitchell. It was named after Ken Mitchell.
well, the few on the Great Barrier, they mentioned the Mitchell was doing whatever. I'm like, oh, the Great Barrier and Mitchell, Gary Mitchell. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, no, but Dave, do you know who Ken Mitchell is?
Yeah. No.
He played a couple of Klingons. He has ALS.
Mm-hmm.
He played the doctor that tortured Stamets last season.
Oh, okay, that guy.
Yeah, the was it like the paraplegic?
We basically watched him degenerate on screen over the last 5 years, and he was there was a video from the Star Trek cruise that they just did. He was there, and he came out. He can't even talk anymore. He's using like a Stephen Hawking voice generator, and he's still, reaching out to the fans and staying as positive as he can, and he probably won't be with us too much longer. But that's what I thought it was the Gary Mitchell too, and then I heard it was named for him, and I was like, all right, that's cool.
Yeah. Okay, well now I feel like a jerk. Okay, it could be for him.
No, he's on Discovery. He's done 4 guest appearances. in the first season. He was Cole Shaw, Tenevec, and scientist guy from third season. What worked for what's her name?
Laurel and Ash and Vox kid who became the time crystal keeper.
Yeah, Tenevec.
Okay.
Book and Michael reminisce about a mission on Tiburon, which is in the Beta Quadrant. It's a planet first mentioned in the TOS episode, The Savage Curtain. And not only can Federation HQ warp, but each deck can also detach as a lifeboat, and they can warp too, which is pretty neat.
That was cool.
Yeah. And for
design.
For the first time on Discovery, the Borg are mentioned, indicating that they could still be active in the 32nd century. I guess we'll see. All right.
Maybe so.
Well, I mean, knowing about something and it being active or not, I mean, I would.
Well, I mean, she brings it up. That's the first thing that pops to her mind. And if it's some species from 1,000 years ago, that wouldn't be the first thing on her mind.
Standard discussion at Starfleet Academy, or.
And I would also think that they left a huge.
Well, she's not Starfleet.
Cultural...
She's Federation president.
Yeah, but any. Okay, I'm not going to argue with you, Sean. I'm just going to say I agree with Rick.
All right.
I mean, she really just said it because the audience knows the Borg.
I mean,
well, it is a sentient hive mind.
Not around anymore,
so. And there's not too many of them, so it's probably it might well be the only example that she. Oh, you mean like a Borg?
Mm-hmm.
What you gonna say, like honeybees? Like like honeybees.
I actually when they were describing it, it's they're this species is not a race of individuals. It's essentially one mind made up of a whole bunch of different aspects. And at the same time that the president said, "Oh, you mean like the Borg?" In my head, I was like, "Oh, you mean like the founders?"
Yeah.
Actually, I was thinking fungus, but that's just me.
They're saving all the Deep Space Nine references for Picard this season. So, all right.
If you go to Twitter, they say that they're ignoring DS9.
Who, Picard?
That's the complaint. Is that that's the big complaint that I'm seeing all over the place. Is that people on Twitter are saying they're ignoring Deep Space Nine on New Trek.
What does that mean?
They made like three references.
I know.
So
they made more than that.
That doesn't.
They call Cisco by name.
I know.
Make sure that you head over to
his name. They have sanctuary districts. They have a sign for it on the thing, and they called one of the.
We're going to talk about Picard in a minute. We're going to talk about Picard in a minute.
All right. So actually, I actually took notes on this one, so I'm gonna, if I may,
we've got some perks on our Patreon, and you can come over and listen to our monthly movie commentaries, and we watch old movies and we talk about them. Or we make fun of them. You can join for $3 a month for our basic level. Our producer level is $10 a month, and you'll be thanked on the show, like Brandon Ushio, Tom Corcoran, and Del Goodall. I want to thank everybody for being here. Dave, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you?
You can find me on the Star Trek Universe podcast. If I can stop licking my microphone. I'm just a weirdo. Or DC on Screen. If you want to listen to me talk about the DC Comics multiverse on film and television, yes, I'm still doing that show. Thanks for having me on.
Rick, what about you? Where can we find you?
You can find me on Starfleet 6060 International Genre Fiction Podcast, or on Open the Iris, the SG1 podcast, or a couple of shows that I've got in the works that may or may not be happening soon. I'm not sure. But yeah, or on various other shows here on the wonderful Potato Alliance.
Open the Iris sounds vaguely dirty.
Now it sounds very dirty.
Especially since I said vaguely and did this with my hand.
Yeah, I like that.
Scott, so when's I'd watch that for $1 gonna debut?
Sometime between tomorrow and when I die.
Oh, okay.
Mark your calendars, folks.
I have no excuse. There's There's nothing I can say. I'm bad at podcasting. I have the interviews. I have the discussions. They have not been transformed. I've not used the alchemy to make them into episodes. It hasn't happened. It will, but it hasn't.
All right.
When it happens, you guys will hear it, and I'll release them and I'll put them out. It'll be a good time.
There will be 6 episodes, and then you'll never do any more.
We'll see.
John,
I do have to say that making podcasts in this way for me, I have to believe will become a lot easier if I can stop living this third shift life. If I start working and living a daylight schedule, like a human, then a lot of these things will be easier. But that's not the life I'm living right now, unfortunately.
John, where can we find you? You can find me on Captain Game Show. So here's notes that I took about this episode. I spoke to most of them. I'll be quick. Okay, my hope for next season is that they just have one main event, but like every episode, you see it from a different character's point of view, and the story slowly progresses. And so at the end, it's like the conclusion of the season, but you actually get character arcs for everybody, one per episode. Also, I love the line, "Love always ends in grief." That was good. I like there was a nice symmetry that Booker had to leave someone behind who made a choice to sacrifice themselves, like he didn't want Michael to do in episode 2 of this season on the prison planet, but he had to come to terms with it because that's what that's a character. I love that they only referred to the Rillick's partner as her partner, and you're like, oh, well, okay, I guess it's a different kind of relationship. But then she called him. You still don't know what the partner is, but I like that they're normalizing partner is a thing. Mm-hmm. I did scream, "Holy shit!" I put that in the thing. And the final scene where they pull back on Earth. I love that it was a shot of Africa, and it was on the side. It's not the way we always see it on maps and globes because we're in space. Captain Game Show.
Yeah, and I hope that in the season premiere we see the Discovery facing off against a giant fleet of alien ships, and they're all about to start firing on Discovery, and then it cuts and it says 6 weeks earlier.
Please don't.
No. You know what?
That's right up there with Voyagering them.
I would never say that I actually want Star Trek to be canceled in any capacity. However,
they just started with someone waking up from a dream and they wake up and they drop a glass.
If they decided for whatever reason, you know what, enough Discovery, I kind of think this was a perfect series finale.
Yeah, it was.
It felt
it
very.
It would have worked.
Finale.
Everything.
Yeah, they're not doing cliffhanger. The last 2 seasons they haven't done a cliffhanger for the season finale.
I don't need a cliffhanger bridging the seasons, just going season to season. But I feel like this was the first season with Michael as captain, and I feel like she's got a lot more. Like there's a lot more stories there as she progresses.
No, she became captain in the season finale last year.
I'm aware of that. This was the first season with Michael as captain.
Well, she figured.
Yeah, okay. I thought
she
I watched the show.
I thought you said something else. Okay.
She passed her Kobayashi Maru. She's fit to be captain of the Voyager, even if she doesn't want to.
Sure.
All right. If you want to contact us, just head over to infinitepotato.com. Click on the icon for that Star Trek podcast, and you'll find all of our links to our email address, our Facebook group, and our Twitter page. That's going to be it for this week. Remember, we have another episode available on the feed where we talk about the new episode of Picard. So look for that wherever fine podcasts are sold, and we will be back next week to discuss a new episode of Picard. I don't know what the name of it is, but we'll talk about it. Hopefully, you'll be there with us. Until then,
it's called Q Ball because she's bald.
Over.
Until then,
even my 10th penis hurts.
What?
You know what?
I don't understand.
I'm not even going to say the line I had. That's it. Good night, folks.